Hello and welcome to another video. So I've been super busy upgrading my office over the last few weeks. So in this video, I thought I'd share, what I've done here in this space, but also answer one of the most common questions I get asked, which is what equipment do I use for my photography and video work on a daily basis? Now, I've done what's in my camera bag style videos before, but I wanted to make this one feel a bit different, a proper sort of overview of everything that I use to run my photography business, from my desk setup here to the equipment and gear that I take out on location. So yeah, tons to talk about in this week's video. So let's get straight into it. Let's start with the space itself, because I've actually gutted and rebuilt this room completely. I've stripped off all the old plaster, fully insulated the walls, then replastered and redecorated. And that's because I live in an old Welsh cottage and the walls sometimes condensate in winter, which is obviously not great when you've got a lot of electrical equipment and cameras and those types of things lying around. So hopefully that problem is all sorted out now. And while I was at it, I also reconfigured the layout as well to give a more sort of minimalistic feel, just to help me stay a little bit more focused when I'm working. So even though my business is centered around landscape photography, I do actually spend way more time actually in here editing and completing admin tasks than I do when I'm in the field, when I'm out shooting. So I think having something fast and reliable here is really important. I think the more efficient I can be in here, the more time I can obviously spend out there doing what I absolutely love. So yeah, it's so important to have something that runs efficiently. So starting behind me here, this is my photo printer. It's the Canon Pro 10S, an A3 pigment ink printer that I absolutely love. Now, I've had this for many years and sadly it's not in production anymore, but I think there is a newer version. I think it's called the ProGraph Pro 310. So if you're looking for a similar printer, maybe check that one out. On top of that is just a basic TS205, I think, by Canon, and that's just good for printing my everyday documents because obviously the ink is cheaper, so that's what I use that for. Now, in front of me here is my main workstation, which has had a gradual but significant upgrade over the past 18 months. So after working on PC and Android for many years, I decided to make the switch, like I said, about 18 months ago. And it definitely has been a pricey move, but it's made such a big difference to my workflow, especially for editing, but also for little things like AirDrop. It just makes the whole process so much easier when you've got a system that's all cohesive and works together. So the setup is a MacBook Pro 16-inch with the studio display and the Magic keyboard. And that just integrates really well together. It's great when I'm editing here in the office. I can obviously use the big screen, but if I'm on the go and I'm working remotely, I can just unplug the laptop and take that with me. And because the screen, the colors are identical, it just makes editing so much more easy. If everything's calibrated, you're not constantly guessing. To be honest, I wish I'd have done this 10 years ago because it really is saving me a ton of time already. I think having something that's efficient is definitely the way to go. Now, I tend to work directly off the SSD on the MacBook there when I'm editing because it's faster. But I do also have a G-Ray drive, which has got 2 drives in it, which is constantly backing things up as and when required. So before we get onto the camera equipment, the other big upgrade I've recently done to the space is the desk setup itself. Because, I wanted to create a comfortable, calm, relaxing environment to work in. And this entire setup here is by Vernal. Now, it's made up of a few different components. Firstly, this part here is the height adjustable standing desk, which allows me to work in either a seated position or a standing position, which is really helpful, especially if you suffer from back or neck pain, which is great during those long editing sessions. I've paired the desk with a matching walnut desk shelf here, which raises the monitor up a little bit and also helps to reduce neck strain. It just keeps things level with your eyes, which is also really helpful. The integrated desk drawer underneath is also really helpful. At the moment, I'm using mine to keep my day-to-day accessories hidden away, but you can, of course, keep your keyboard in there should you prefer. The matching filing cabinet underneath also keeps everything looking neat and tidy as well. I believe there's 7 colour options to choose from, but mine is made from solid walnut and sizes range from 120 centimetres to 200 centimetres. And it also supports 160 kilograms. The desk itself is incredibly solid, and that is because it's built with a reinforced frame, and even at the full standing height it's rock steady. I think this is due to the minimal gap between the columns and the increased overlapping area between the legs. I also went with their S-Series ergonomic chair in white and green, which I think looks great in the space as well. You know, I was also really surprised how quick and easy it was to assemble everything, and I think that's because it comes with pre-installed nuts, so it really was kind of hassle-free. I think I put the desk together in about 20 minutes or so. Also, the design of the keypad over here fits really flush against the edge of the desk. It's got 3 height adjustable presets, a child lock, and an upper and lower limit settings. The snug fit against the desk edge as well minimises accidental collisions and missed touches. You also get 2 built-in cable trays as well, so I was able to clean up all of the mess underneath the desk without needing to buy anything extra, which is also a nice touch. So if you're looking to build a home workspace like this, I definitely recommend checking out Vernal. Prices start from £379, and with my code YTIW, or by clicking the link in the video description, you can get an extra 6% off. Plus being with a chance to win £500 in rewards during their summer sale. So big thanks to Vernal for supporting the channel. So before we get onto the photography equipment, I just wanted to mention what's back here, you know, the stuff you don't see, which I use to film these videos, because there's tons of stuff going on back there behind the scenes. So on the tripod there, which is the Tree Root by Falcom, is my soon to be replaced Fuji XS10. Now I talked about why I'm replacing that in a recent video, which I'll link down below for you if you haven't checked it out already. And thanks for the suggestions on what you suggested I should get instead. But I have made a decision, more on that in a few weeks' time. But yeah, we've got the XS10 there. On the front of that is the 23mm f1.4 lens by Viltrox. On the front of that is a mist filter by K&F, and that just helps to reduce the digital look of the footage we've got in here. Just takes that sharpness away from the prime lens, because it's an incredibly sharp lens that. And it also helps the lights bloom a little bit and soften in the background, which I think just adds a little bit more sort of ambience to the space, if you will. Now above that is my light, which is lighting me now, and that's the Amran 62 and a Neewer Octobox and Grid. Now the Octobox and Grid just help, I guess, direct the light towards me without it spilling out too much from the edges, which is really helpful. I've got that on a boom arm, which is attached to the wall, and that allows me to maneuver the light around without it kind of having to be sat on a stand. I think the more stands you have in your space, the more cluttered it becomes, and it's a lot more difficult. So I can move that light around and just swing it back out of the way when it's not in use. Above that, which is just out of frame here, only about 6 inches from my face, is the Rode Video NTG microphone, which is on a boom arm, which is attached to the ceiling. Again, I can retract this telescopic arm, swing that out of the way as well. So when I'm not filming in here, it can just help make the space feel a little bit more like an office. And probably the most important piece of equipment I've got in this whole space is sat just down here, and that's my Spaniel Chili Dog, who's always down here when I'm in my office. He loves being in here with me and yeah, snoring his head off most of the time. Fortunately, it's being fairly quiet during this video, which is pretty good. So I think the microphone itself sounds really nice, but one other thing I would like to do in here is add a little bit more sound treatment into the room. Currently, I've got a couple of blankets hanging up, and the curtains here are the only things really that are deadening the echo in here. So yeah, I do want to put up some proper panels on the wall. The tiles I've got behind me work quite well, but I want to get a couple of dedicated sound panels to put up at the back there, just to help take the reverb out and make the sound just that little bit better. But that is a project for another day. So one thing I use a lot for my in the field videography work is the DJI Action 5 paired with the DJI Mic 2. And that little setup has changed my life, to be honest. It is so easy to use. It instantly pairs with the mic as soon as I turn it on. It just makes the whole process so quick and easy to do. Quite often when I'm filming my landscape photography videos, you know, I'm really concentrating on the photography and I don't necessarily have a lot of time to set up a tripod with a big camera on to do the filming. So just being able to set up a tiny little action camera down somewhere to quickly grab footage when, I'm trying to rush around chasing the light or something like that. It's been an absolute game changer. And yeah, I don't, it is an action camera, but I think the footage from it looks really nice. I don't see any problem. And I also think, with the action camera as well, it's a little bit more real. It makes the videos feel a little bit more real, a little less polished, which sometimes I think can be a good thing. So what else do I use to film my videos? Oh yes, the DJI Mavic Air 2, which is pretty old now, but it does a great job for my needs and allows me to grab a little bit of aerial footage, which I think, helps to set the scene as well when I'm out filming. I think it really does add a little bit to the videos. And yeah, I enjoy flying the drone as well. It's good fun. The other item I use quite a lot as well is these little LED lights by Neewer. I think these are super handy. They've got magnetic backs on them, and you can change the color, you can change the brightness, you can stick them everywhere. They're USB-C chargeable. They're absolutely fantastic, and I use them for so much stuff. I've got one just behind me now, but a lot of the sort of shots in this video were lit by them as well. They're really nice and yeah, just super handy to have. So there's always a couple of those in my bag when I'm out on location as well. And by the way, I'll try to leave the links to all these bits and bobs down in the video description. I'll try and update my gear page on my website as well, should you want to come back in the future and see what I'm sort of currently using, because things do change and evolve over time as I evolve. So let's get on to the important photography gear that I take with me. Now, back here in the corner of my room, I've put up some hooks which help me to keep things organized a bit. Before, I just come in from a shoot and dump all of my stuff on the floor, and before I knew it, the place was a complete mess. Now everything gets hung up on those hooks as soon as I come in, and then it's just easy for me to grab a bag or whatever it is I need when I'm going on a new shoot. So it just saves a bit of time. All these little time savers are so important when you're trying to run a photography business on a daily basis. So currently I'm using 3 different camera bags. This one, which probably gets the least use, is the Focus backpack by PGY Tech. This one I think holds the most camera gear, so if I'm on a shoot where I need to take all of my video and photo gear and a lighting setup, then that would be the bag I grab. But yeah, it doesn't get that much use, to be honest. Not because it's a bad bag, far from it, only because the Tenzing by Creative Summit better suits my needs and equipment that I usually carry. Yeah, I think this is an absolute great bag. I think the only negative I can find with it is it's a little bit squeaky. You can hear the material creaking a bit, which when you're on a hike and everything's really quiet, it can be quite annoying. So yeah, that would be my only gripe with that bag. This one here is my most recent addition, and this is also by PGY Tech. This one is a lot lighter and a bit smaller, and also looks a little smarter as well than the others. So yeah, a good option for maybe being out in towns or villages as opposed to the wilderness. Yeah, this one is called the One Go To by PGY Tech. So if you're still with me, I really do appreciate that. Hopefully this is not dragging on too much, but we have still got some more stuff to cover. So let's get into the photography equipment. So the tripod I use is by Falcam, and it's called the Tree Root. And the head is the Sunway Photo GH Pro 2, I think it's called. I've had that for a number of years. It's a fantastic head. I really enjoy using it. It allows you to fine tune your compositions really well. And the Tree Root tripod sticks are super sturdy, really light and really well built. This is I guess a montage of 2 different tripods or 2 different systems, but it suits what I do really well, and I think it's the best setup I've ever used so far. For my photo kit, I'm currently using the Fuji X-H2, the Viltrox 13mm f1.4, the 16-50 standard zoom lens, and the 70-300 telephoto zoom lens. I think this is a really decent setup and works well for the work I'm currently doing for my landscape and outdoor photography work. For my filters, I use either the Nissi circular or these Case Wolverine magnetic filters. I keep flitting between the 2. I'm not really sure which I prefer, to be honest. Both are absolutely fantastic. Both sets have got a 3, 6 and a 10 stop filter in them, and also a circular polarizer. Both great options and highly recommended. Now what I'll do is try to update my gear page on my website with all of the links to the equipment that I've spoken about today, but also the little accessories that I take with me as well, like shutter releases and, you know, cleaning equipment, that type of thing. So if you're interested in that, yeah, go and take a look. So I do hope this video has been helpful in some way, and a massive thanks if you did make it this far. And a big thanks to Vernal as well for sponsoring this week's video. And don't forget, you can use the discount code YTIW or click the link in the video description to get an extra 6% off their products. And of course, any orders that are placed now are in with a chance to win up to £500 in rewards. If you enjoyed this video, you might like the one that is up the top here, where I'm actually out using this equipment in the field. And please do consider hitting the like button, as that really helps these videos to reach more people. A big thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all again next week.